Bernard Manning. Bernard Manning. Do you want to hear some of the Bernard Manning jokes on ITV?
Nigel Farage seems to have been doing his Bernard Manning tribute act down at a press conference in Westminster, responding to questions from journalists about what he said at school. Aggie Chambre is LBC's political correspondent who was in the room. Aggie.
Tom, this was an absolutely extraordinary press conference. So he started off, he'd called the press conference to talk about the fact that the government was delaying mayoral elections. And then he got to the Q&A, said, look, guys, ask me anything you want. I'm here. Ask me any topic. It's free reign. So the first question from the BBC was about these allegations that have been in The Guardian and other newspapers in recent weeks. Basically, The Guardian spoke to 24 of Nigel Farage's school peers, and one classmate called Peter at Edgey said that Nigel Farage would regularly come up to him, and this is really offensive, Tom. He would say, allegedly, Hitler was right, and also say he'd go gas them. And other classmates too talked about alleged incidents of deeply offensive behaviour by the Reform UK leader. Now, Richard Tice, who is the Reform UK deputy, went on the radio this morning and said Etedgey was lying. He said, I think this is made up twaddle by a whole bunch of people. So Nigel Farage, first question in this press conference, asked by a BBC correspondent if he would agree with Richard Tice that Etedgey was lying.
The double standards and hypocrisy of the BBC are absolutely astonishing. At the time I was alleged to have made these remarks, one of your most popular weekly shows was the Black and White Minstrels, right? The BBC were very happy to use blackface. Oh, and not just in the Black and White Minstrels, you did it in It Ain't Half Hot Mum as well.
Wow.
Yeah,
you're going through the TV Times there to find those.
Well, quite. I can tell you that though the sitcom It Ain't Half Hot Mum was subject of lots of controversy, was accused of racism very widely, the same with the Black and White Minstrel show. Nigel Farage also said that he had got 6 letters from contemporaries at school and read out this one.
I was a Jewish pupil at Dulwich College at the same time, and I remember him very well. While there was plenty of macho, tongue-in-cheek schoolboy banter, it was humour. And yes, sometimes it was offensive, rather like most of the BBC's output. But never with malice. I never heard him racially abuse anyone. If he had, he would have been reported and punished. He wasn't. The news stories are without evidence except for belatedly politically dubious recollections from nearly half a century ago. Back in the 1970s, the culture was very different. Perhaps Dame New should reflect on that. Especially at Dulwich. Lots of boys said things they'd regret today, or just laugh at. Whilst Nigel stood out, he was neither aggressive nor a racist. If I can help in any way, let me know.
So that is Nigel Farage reading from a letter from a contemporary of his at Dulwich at the time saying nothing to see here. So presumably these letters have been passed to journalists with the names of those who wrote the letters on, because then journalists can go and interview these people. No, they have not. So right.
I think it is worth saying that in that Guardian article I read out the name of somebody who has put the name to their comments. Nigel Farage said, I've got 6 of these letters. I'm only reading out this one. I'm not going to tell you the names of who these are from because you lot will go after them. Go after them, as you say, would be going to interview them and building up more of a picture.
So even the people that would defend his position, he is not putting out into the public domain for fear that what they would say would be made more public.
Well, yeah, they would be asked questions about exactly what that looked like. I asked a question too, Tom, because it sounded like he was basically saying, well, the context was very different then. It was a different time. So if these comments happened, and he actually didn't in that press conference offer an unequivocal denial. He said recollections may vary. So I asked, well, would you say these comments are unacceptable now? And he just actually repeated that letter and read an extract of that letter. ITV also had a go, asked a question which he talked over the ITV reporter and just said Bernard Manning over and over again.
I'm so lost for words, Aggie, at the suggestion that he would just repeat the phrase Bernard Manning over again. I failed to speak. So the defence is, because it was on the television a long time ago when I was a lad, and it's now considered unacceptable, or it was unacceptable then, but it still went on the television, my potential comments are unacceptable too, or I don't deny these comments that I made, but I didn't mean them in a hurtful way?
Well, there's been a few different defences, so that's what's quite difficult to work out well, apart from the fact that it was half a century ago, but it is quite difficult, especially without those 6 contemporaries who we can't interview at this stage. He has previously said a number of different things, like he never directly tried to go and hurt anyone. He said recollections may vary, but he has not gone as far as Richard Tice went today when he said to the BBC, they are lying. I think it was made up twaddle by a whole bunch of people.